We're going to talk about the best places to generate the highest ROI, return on investment, in life and in business, because there's a big difference there.
What are the best places to generate the highest ROI in life and in business? And I asked ChatGPT on this one, and the first thing it said was like stocks and bonds and all these little kind of old school traditional things. But I would submit that the number one investment that you can make in yourself, and I think you've heard this from Tony Robbins and some of the greatest entrepreneurs and thought leaders out there in business and in life, and the number one investment they always talk about making is in yourself. What does that mean, and why do you think they say that, Ty?
I mean, because at the end of the day, your success in business, in life, as a father, as a brother, comes down to how you are as a person, how you are as an individual. And so if you're bettering yourself, you're bettering your business. If you're bettering yourself, you're bettering your spouse, you're bettering your brother, you're bettering your colleagues. And so ultimately, if you are improving yourself, you're improving everything around you.
Yeah, no question about it. And I think all I have to do is think about in my 20s where I did such a poor job of just investing in books, because most people go to school, they get out of school and they're like, I'm done. And they don't spend the time reading the books about those who are achieving greatness, who are really disrupting and dominating and becoming experts in their space. Whatever your space is, someone's written books, someone's created programs and courses and YouTube videos who have actually done what you're trying to do. And while you're sitting there, just screwing around and playing fantasy football all day and all weekend long, someone else, a small percentage of the population in your industry, is reading the books, is learning, is becoming an expert. And those are the people that are dominating. And so when I started to finally invest in books and mentorships and programs, I still remember an online program I bought about learning how to do online marketing. I spent $2,000 on it and the timer was ticking down. And ultimately, I don't think I got, tons of value, but I did get some value from that program. And it opened the door, and I started making other investments. And I learned way more about building a business than I ever did in college. And that's why it's so important to make those investments. And people are so quick to label those things as scam, but yet those are the people that achieve greatness, are the ones that invest in themselves. They invest in programs. And the quickest way to success is finding someone who's already done it and asking them, hey, do you have a roadmap, some directions that I can ask for? And so if you don't invest in yourself, the return is going to be very small. If you do, it's exponential. Like you think about stocks that average 7 to 9% annually most of the time overall over 100 years. Well, if you invest in yourself, that might be thousands or millions of percent return, where you can go from making $25,000, $50,000 a year to $500,000 a year. I mean, how can you measure that? It's exponential.
So tell me this, Leo, because sometimes I find myself complaining. I have a 2-year-old and I have a 6-month-old.
Yeah.
And we just moved into a new home, and I find myself complaining that my life is so busy. I don't ever have time to listen to books. I don't ever have time to exercise. And I know that's something that you said you've really, really hit on, really hit hard at the last decade. What shifted, and when do you do these types of things?
Yeah, great question. So for a long time, I was kind of like my kids, and I think like a lot of our team members in here, where it's like there's nothing worse than getting up early and working out. I'm not ever going to do that. So I would try to do it after work and after the day. And as your kids get older and they have sports and they have stuff going on after you get home from work, it really just became clear to me that the best time, and this seems to be what the most successful entrepreneurs and people out there do. I was listening to a podcast with Ed Mylett and Troy Aikman. They're doing the same thing. They all start their day by getting up, 6:30, somewhere around there. They get up, they get an initial workout in, and while they're doing that workout, they might be listening to a book, they might be listening to a podcast, and as they're getting ready, they might be, listening to those things further. And so for me, I try to get up every day, either around 6 or 6:30. I try to get in a 30 to 40 minute workout, just right there in my little home gym. Could be cardio. Sometimes I'll go for a run. Sometimes I'll just do strength training. And I'll do that. And while I'm doing that, I'm listening to a podcast. I'm listening to a book. And I'll listen to it, while I'm getting ready, while I make a protein drink to get and taking all my health supplements. And just doing that right there, where most of the time your kids are still asleep, then I can invest in me and be ready to go out and have energy and dominate the day. And then when I get home, now I don't feel like, oh shit, I haven't worked out. I haven't done this. I haven't done that. I've started out by getting some of the hardest stuff of the day done first, gives me a ton of momentum. And then by the time I get home, then I can feel like I can actually focus on helping my kids more and getting, focusing on them. And I feel like if I don't do that, number one, my energy's low. I just feel messed up at that point. And it did take me a long time to actually get to that, that schedule.
Yeah, I mean, it takes time to build habits. I've read somewhere that it takes 2 weeks to build a habit, and I think that's kind of bogus. It
is. I think there was a new one. There's The Power of Habit. There's like 2 or 3 Atomic Habit. There's a few big habit books that are really good out there, and I think the consensus is it's somewhere around 70 days.
Okay, that would make sense. Yeah, and it's just being so consistent through that time. And the hard part with kids is, you have one night where your 6-month-old wakes up 3 or 4 times, but it's just being consistent, knowing, look, I'm going to be a little tired today, but sticking through it, just sticking to it. And for me, it's the commutes, Leo. That is the only time I found that I can't work out and listen to a book. My ADD mind goes way too many places, and I'll listen to a book and it goes in one ear out the other, and I don't gain anything. For me, it's the commutes, because I can sit and focus on it. So I mean, you just got to figure out when you have the time to hone in and listen. If it means waking up earlier, it means waking up earlier. But investing in yourself will improve your life and the lives around you, so you have to do it.
I love listening to books on the commute. And that was, with the previous business, I was going from like Draper down to Springville, and it was a good 40 minutes every single day. But I listened to so many books, and I loved it. And so sometimes a commute is really good, and that's where, instead of listening to sports radio or listening to just music, most people are listening to music. It's like a habit we start as teenagers when we get our driver's license. But when you transition over to, hey, I'm all in on, you just don't have the time. Yeah. Like, there's only so much time. It's like Ray Dalio says, you can do a lot of things well, but you can't do everything well. And I feel like, I've got our business family and our business, and I've got my actual family, and my health's important, and within that realm, those things, I feel like I don't have much time for anything else.
Yeah, you have to really sit down and decide what is truly important to you.
So I can't go do the guys out thing. I can't go on vacation with my buddies. I can't do those things, because if I do those things, then I'm going to drop the ball on something else.
Yeah, I've had to learn that with golf. Granted, I played 3 times this last week, so that's a bad time to bring up that example. But yes,
but that's part of your recreation workout, and if you don't do that too, you might go insane. So it's important to do that too.
Absolutely.
So, all right, and then there's also I think the next best investment is investing in your own business that you work in. Like, you could invest $10,000-$15,000 in that and generate incredible exponential 1,000% plus returns. You're not doing that in the stock market, and you're not doing that in real estate, because you have so much control over a business where you can put a little bit of money into it. But if you're putting your time into it, that's where you should be generating a really strong return. And then, what do you feel like are the next best investments out there for you, Ty?
I do want to hit on that one real quickly, Leo, when you talk about investing in your business, because you did something that made a huge difference for me very, very early on, when I actually initially became your official business partner. Because in my head, coming into that meeting, that dinner with you, if you recall, Jill and Marie all went to dinner.
Yeah.
In my head, I was kind of thinking, he's just going to give me a large percentage. I've done so much. I brought in the initial partner. I go out on the road, and all of this revenue is tied to me. I was getting all cocky, thinking that I was just going to be gifted all of it. And you did. You gifted me some, but the best thing you ever did for me is you made me actually put my own money into it. You made me get my own skin in the game, and it was a dollar amount that was a little uncomfortable for me, but my work ethic went from here to here when that happened because I was invested in what we were doing. So I think that's extremely important. Don't just try and find the free way to do this as a business owner. When you put money into it, when you put skin in the game, you're going to find a whole nother gear that you didn't know existed.
No question about it. And there's nothing more baffling to me like someone who's like going to venture capital firms to try and raise money and they literally haven't put a dime. They won't like risk anything into their own business. And it's like, dude, why should anybody give you money if you aren't willing to put your own balls on the line? So,
Exactly.
crazy.
Believing in yourself is very important. So
Yeah, you've got to have skin in the game, but there's no better investment out there.
yeah,
You invest in your own business that you put your blood, sweat, and tears in. I mean, the returns are just exponential, and then they just grow every single which way from that. And then now that's the next step. Now, can I take this money and invest it into other businesses without having to invest so much of my time? And that's the next business model. And so you'll see guys like Alex Hormozy with acquisitions.com. Instead of taking all of their money, they just cashed out for like $46 million when they sold their gym launch business. They're like, no, we understand businesses. And so they have all these people applying to work with them. They put money, they put their ideas, their knowledge, their proven strategies and formulas, and they grow these businesses, and they are able to not have to put all their time into it, but they are able to oversee it and put some hours in every week when they need to and grow those businesses. And again, that's where you can get exponential returns. You know, you might invest in real estate and hope to make 10 to 20% a year in that real estate, and it's still going to take some time. But if you can invest in a business, I mean, you can make 100, 200% and not have to necessarily put tons of your time into it.
yeah, which is something we've been working really hard on. It might be a surprise to a few people, but we're going to be making an announcement later today. We're launching a flooring company that. Leo, I've done it a little bit. Have you ever gone and installed wood floor?
I have never installed wood floor, but I've paid for many installation.
Exactly. But you have the mindset, the wherewithal, the softwares, the money to actually launch and run a successful business. So we found an awesome partner that knows flooring, has done flooring for over a decade, but is not know everything about the business side of things. So these strategic partnerships and starting these other businesses is very, very valuable. The next one, when we look at ROI, it's real estate, right? You can obviously do really, really well with real estate. I don't think you're going to do near as well as investing in yourself or investing in your business, but real estate can be a fantastic investment if you know what you're doing. Don't just go throw mud at the wall and hope it sticks, though.
No question about it. I mean, you look at that land deal we did, that generated, I think we put in 30, brought back 120. That's literally like a 300% return within just over a year. Your property in St. George, it's almost 400%, wasn't it?
Yeah. But you look at it, all but one of our properties, we followed mentors. We went in on these deals with people that have done this their entire lives, that know exactly what they're doing. The only one we didn't was my permanent residence, so I already knew exactly what was going on there. So it's again, even though I would say we're pretty savvy with real estate, we always went in with experts and professionals.
100%, yeah. Don't trust yourself where you're just barely looking at something. Look at someone who's been doing it for years and has a team and has strategies and tools and proven success, and let's follow what they're doing, because what they're doing is working and they are experts, and that is where it's all about. And then, of course, you've got disruptive stocks, dividend-paying stocks. I mean, if you can find the next Amazon, that can be great, or just sometimes just the S&P 500. I mean, I like the S&P 500. I like being able to say, hey, whatever money that could just be sitting in a bank account could just be following the S&P 500. It's very liquid. If you need to pull money out, I know you did when you had to pull some money out for, one of your house projects or something like that. You were able to do it. But what are your thoughts when it comes to stocks?
Yeah, that's another one that nowadays I'm pretty wary of, because there's all of these day trade, let me day trade your money, blah blah blah. I don't know enough about that to confidently go do it, but what I do know is computers are very, very smart, and there's softwares out there like Betterment that you can say, hey, I want 80 stocks, 20 bonds, and this level of aggression, and have at it. And so for me, that's done year after year, 7 to 10%, and so I'm totally comfortable. I'm totally fine with that. I don't think it's something that you should go gamble with. You may as well go to Vegas if you're going to do that.
You know what's crazy? Like, you got all these big hedge funds out there, and Ray Dalio's been I think the most successful. But I want to say 90% of hedge funds that are getting all these billionaires' money, and same thing even with venture capital firms, like all these smart tech guys that cashed out for hundreds or even billions of dollars. I think the S&P 500 outpaces 90 or 95% of hedge funds and also venture capital firms 95% of the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously you can't say it's guaranteed money, but you look at the historical data, and as long as you can afford to stay in there long enough, you almost can't lose. So it's
100%. Yeah.
It's interesting.
And that's why just that consistency. And so when you spend all this money to pay somebody to be the manager or whatever, and you can just follow the S&P 500 or whatever percentage of stocks and bonds, and hey, bond rates have really gone up with higher interest rates, right? So that's a good place where you're getting a lower risk and a higher return. And so, but what it is, I think it's important to understand this. If your time horizon is, 20, 30, 40 years, perfect. That's what that S&P 500 is for. That's what stock investments are for. But if you think you're going to be putting, $100, $200 a month, and in 5 to 10 years you're going to be rich from that, that is not the case.
No.
And so what it's for is to build your business, cash out, and then you have $10 million in stocks that make you 5% a year, 6% a year with some stocks and bonds. Well, great. That's awesome money. That's $500,000-$600,000 a year on your $10 million nest egg. But if you think, I'm going to put $100 or $200 a month, and all these smart guys, and then I'm not going to buy the coffee, I'm not going to go out to eat, I'm going to learn to live a shitty life for 5 or 10 years, and magically that's going to turn into $1 million. That's not going to happen. So I just want to point that out.
Yeah, and Leo, at this point in my life, most of the stuff that I am putting into stocks, for lack of a better term, or not to get too technical here, is a lot of that comes down to the tax advantages as well.
Yeah.
Right. The percentage of tax savings on top of the gains there. So obviously you can't touch that money right away, but there's definitely tax advantages there.
No question. Same thing with real estate. You've got depreciation. There's a reason why Donald Trump and big-time real estate investors often pay very little in taxes, because as a property owner, you get to depreciate that property, and it oftentimes eliminates a lot of your income from it while the property's going, while you're earning cash flow. And so those are important factors to keep in mind as well.